Hello everybody, this is Bluestone, welcome back. Today I want to share with you guys a piston door I made. So it's not this one, it's actually the one all the way down there, but these two designs here, plus the mock-up, are the main components of that big one down there. And the reason I built this, the main feature behind it, is that it is the fastest door anyone can ever make. Now, you might not be surprised, because, like, Blue, I already know how to make a piston door. All you gotta do is take the pressure plate, and hook it up to, oh, I need redstone dust. You could hook it up to a torch, and then that torch is hooked up directly to the sticky pistons, right? That's super simple. Everyone knows how to do that, right? But there is a little detail that you may not notice. Oops, I need to put a block here. There's a little detail that you might not notice. When I step on this pressure plate, the door opens, obviously. But the problem is, if I'm running at this door, my sprint is stopped. As in, I'm running and I want to get through this door. You know, I'm running through my base. I want to grab something from my storage room maybe, and I have this door in front of my storage room. I hit the pressure plate, and then my sprint is stopped for a moment. There's a little bit of speed lost. That is unacceptable, I said. So, I decided to redesign it. One thing I noticed was that pistons, when activated, as opposed to a redstone torch, when pistons move a block out of the way, that redstone wire is instantly deactivated and the piston retracts instantly. But with the redstone torch, it's 2 ticks later that it occurs. So I can actually demonstrate this here. That's a little loud. Let me turn that down. So you notice here, the one with the redstone torch is extending and retracting, but the one with the block being pushed out of the way, when it deactivates, comes out, retracts 2 ticks sooner. That's the difference between losing your sprint and not losing your sprint, and getting to your chest 2 ticks sooner. Come on. Anyway, I was like, okay, that's fine. So I started designing my doors like this. It's great. And no redstone torch, but it does require an extra slime ball. So I was like, do I really want to spend that much resources? But it's like, hey, it's really cool, isn't it? Just be able to get that little bit of efficiency just by a little redesign. It doesn't take up that much space, that much more space. You could flop around the piston, put it upside down or something like that. But that is 2 ticks gained. But I was like, okay, wait a second. So we got the speed of opening it, but what about the speed of closing it? I didn't really care about that at the time when I made this originally. So I was like, hey, why not 0 tick the block? It was right around the time when I designed this that Emango and the Psycraft crew discovered. Were they the ones that discovered it? I don't know. Anyway, they published the 0 tick mechanics, and what that is when a piston, when a piston receives a redstone pulse and then loses that redstone pulse in the exact same tick, they will move their blocks back into position instantly, as in it won't even go through the extending animation. It'll literally teleport the block from there to there. So watch this. Now you may not be able to see that because you can still see the piston extending and moving over there, so you know which direction it is because you see the mechanics. But if you didn't know that the pistons were on this side and you just came up to an open door and this turned on, you wouldn't be able to tell which direction the blocks came from because they literally teleport. Now, for some reason, it's not looking like that. So you'd have to obscure it a little bit more. I already know which direction it is, so maybe I'm not seeing it. Oops. Uh-oh. Oh, I blocked the redstone. Okay. Boom. That is as fast as you can ever close a piston door. Command blocks are actually the same speed as this. 0 ticks. It literally doesn't run through a moving animation. It just teleports the block directly in position. It's like, okay, awesome. So could we combine these two things? Oh, by the way, here's a demo I put over here. This is a 0 tick generator, so the pulse will go into the piston, and then immediately thereafter, this block will be retracted to deactivate the pulse just as it's given it. So the one on the left pops up instantly, and the one on the right takes 3 ticks to extend. Oops. The one on the left is faster. So we got these two. We're saving 3 ticks and we're saving 2 ticks on the opening and then on the closing. So let's mash these two together. So that's what this one is. It's completely ugly and completely not usable at all for for a design like you got redstone in the path. Like, come on, man. So I did redesign it, but this is a proof of concept. This is the block. That's the door. So the door is right here. You're trying to walk through here. I just put this pressure plate over here. So we already have the piston moving the redstone block out of position to instantly start retracting the piston. It's like, okay, great. So we got that. That's super simple. But I ran into a problem. How in the world do you zero tick something, that the piston that we're trying to close the door, on a down pulse, on the falling edge? Because anytime you want to use a falling edge circuit, you use a torch. And torches, as we already know, redstone torches, are unacceptable because they add 2 ticks of delay. We cannot have that. This must be the fastest door in history, or instantly responding door in history. So we want this to happen. Like the same tick we step on this pressure plate is the same tick that this will start pulling back. Check. And the same tick that we want and the same tick that we release the pressure plate, we want it to close. And in this demo here, that's not the case because this redstone torch is used. It comes 2 ticks after, which is, sure, only a tenth of a second. But come on, let's try to remove it. It's fun, right? Or so I thought. I ran through so many different devices. I had to go through everything from observers to repeaters but everything I could find used some kind of delay in its overall mechanic. Like even observers to detect the falling edge of a circuit does not work because the observers delay by 2 ticks. And then I realized bud switches are activated instantly. So right here I have this redstone wire that comes out here, and when I step on the pressure plate, it activates it the first time, and the piston pulls back the block and allows the door to open. But on its falling edge, it updates it again, allowing the block to move forward and power the line. Now, of course, you might notice that, yes, pistons still have delay in them, right? Yes, pistons take 3 ticks to extend. So I put a 0 tick module on top of it here. This is a budded piston right there. So once this piston activates, because it realizes it's powered by this diagonal block, it starts spitting out its block, updates this piston extends, removes the power for this block, for this piston, so the piston 0 ticks the block and teleports it over to the on position and opens the door. Sorry, closes the door. And then that pulse there is obviously a long pulse, so the 0 tick generator here cuts that pulse off into, well, 0 ticks. So we got the opening phase, and then we have the closing phase. Both of them in the same device, no delay whatsoever. Fantastic. But there is a problem. Of course there's a problem. There's always a problem, isn't there? And that problem is if this door gets spammed. Oh, actually, we'll come back to that one later. That shows the time difference between the two. The classic piston door and the one I just made. There's a problem here. If I spam it, there we go. Got it to work. So it's off right now and it's supposed to be closed. But when I power it, now it opens. That's because this redstone block is misplaced. This redstone block is supposed to be over here, keeping the door locked, which the other one currently is doing by itself anyway. But what happens is if it's over here, then when the door is activated, oops, let me turn it on. Then when the door is activated, it stays open because this redstone block was there, and then now it's powered, updates itself, and then switches the position from off to on, even though I'm powering the door and I want it to open. Specifically, this occurs when the door either receives a 1 tick off pulse like this. Oops, no, I failed. So a 1 tick off pulse. Let's see if I can do it. Did it work? Nope. There we go. A 1 tick off pulse, and now, even though the door is on, it's being the door is activated and it should be opening. The door is being locked closed by this redstone block that's misplaced and it's supposed to be here, because these bud sensors can only work every other tick because they have to depower themselves to reactivate the detection phase or the invalid logic state to be able to detect stuff. So that plain doesn't work. What if you run in through the door and then you come back and accidentally activate the pressure plate for an inactive 1 tick pulse? It breaks the door. I couldn't find a very elegant solution for this, so I had to redesign it. But before we do that, we'll get to that. I promise we will. And it's actually right there. It's pretty neat, actually. But first, I want to show you this. So the timing, you might think, okay, we are Blue. You've already told us that this door opens 2 ticks quicker and closes 3 ticks quicker, but that's not very much, right? I'll let your ears decide that. I'm gonna put some blocks here because I'm gonna activate this door, and I have 2 note blocks. One's there, and the other one's here. One of them is or detects exactly when the pressure plate is activated, 2-tick delay, because I had to use a torch to invert it. So they're both 2-tick delay, so they are in sync with each other. It's not falsified data. But listen for the timing. Actually, let me turn off the pistons because that is way too loud. Brilliant. Now compare that with the standard piston door that uses a redstone torch to unpower the pistons. How about that? It is actually audible. How much human ears are very sensitive to timing anyway. So that's what I use this instead of a scoreboard counter or something. But that right there shows you, and you could hear it. This one is just ever so slightly faster. It is fabulous. It does use quite a bit more resources, but it's an endgame item. Hey, and it get a little bit more speed. Why not? It's a really fun thing, and it's great to hear all the pistons activate at once. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Hearing all those pistons fire. I love it because a piston door usually only has 2 pistons or 4 pistons if it's a 2x2 and stuff like that, right? But this one, oh no, we got a lot more action happening behind the scenes. So the problem we had earlier with the bud detector being not having enough time to reset before the next pulse comes along is solved with this one here. This design, what it does is let me do that first. All right, so what it does is instead of using 2 separate devices, one for opening it with this instantly pushing away redstone block piston here that opens the door instantly, and then the other one here with the 0-tick module, the 0-tick bud switch going in, running into the 0-tick generator, we had both of them smashed into one. So this redstone block is the only block that is powering the entire, well, not the entire system, but the actual door itself. So when this block is here, it's on. And when it's placed there, then the 0-tick generator runs and it spits out the block instantly. And when it's turned off, when the door is activated and it opens, this block is moved over to the side so that it's no longer activating this redstone line and instant retraction, as we saw earlier, because pistons activate instantly. So why did that work? Well, I'm not exactly sure. All we did was put them together. I did a couple things which I'm pretty sure it's this repeater over here, but I'll run through the factors that could be causing this to be a stable design. One, instead of having the piston constantly retracted, the reason why I added this one tick pulse generator is because as required earlier, we were just using a standard old piston that keeps that piston extended for the duration of the rising edges. For the duration of the rising edge, period. Because we don't need it. We don't need it to retract instantly. We need that one to retract instantly. All we need this one to do is extend. But when we're combining the two together, we need this piston to only push it and then retract as soon as possible, so that even if the player activates it and feeds it a 1-tick pulse, this will still work. Because this piston needs to be retracted by the time the falling edge comes around and this piston is activated and tries to put the block back here, so that the piston head isn't in the way. So I added a standard 1-tick generator here, or 1-tick pulse generator, and that seemed to work. I of course added these 2 things as well, which could also be the cause. But that is exactly what it does. So it is a regular piston. You saw it right there, and you can see it with F3 as well. What it just feeds a 1-tick pulse, pushes the block out of the way, depowers the entire system as quickly as possible, then retracts, allowing the closing sequence to occur as soon as the player wants it to, as soon as the pressure plate is unpowered. So great, that works. But we want this to be instantly spinning back into place, because if it's not, we're still losing actually putting 3 ticks on top of the 3 ticks that it takes for these pistons to close. So we keep the same design as the 0-tick bud detector, which are these 2 pistons on top of each other. But 2 things have changed. Instead of using a redirected redstone, which is what I used earlier, we just have the line coming in from the pressure plate activating a budded piston here, like so. Instead of doing that, we use a piston head. I'm not sure if this is what did it, or if it was a repeater, because they were in the same circuit. But the piston only it takes 3 ticks to extend, and only after those 3 ticks, when the piston head rematerializes right here after the piston extension block is gone, that's when it updates. But when that happens, this piston has also rematerialized right here, completely pushing this piston block out of the way. It's important that this is a 1-tick generator, not a 0-tick generator, because if it instantly extended and started retracting, there might be a space there for this piston then to be activated by this piston to push the redstone block back. That is, it might not work. It might break it if I swap that out for a 0-tick generator. I haven't tried it, but theoretically, that's it's important that that's a 1-tick generator, or 1-tick pulse generator. So great. So we have the rising edge, the extension phase of the opening of the door, taking 3 ticks of delay to activate this, rather than the redstone dust, which the redirected redstone dust, which activates instantly, and could cause a problem because it tries to close before it even opens. So great, that works, right? And yes, it does. But sometimes I notice that if I swapped out this redstone dust here, it would activate and then close before it opened. The same problem, even with this piston here. So I think it might be both of these, the repeater and the piston, activating in tandem in the same circuit, to keep that bug from happening and occurring if the player accidentally sends a 1-tick pulse in the machine. So, why does this happen? Well, this repeater is incredibly important because this 0-tick, butted piston on the top here. This is just a regular butted piston on the top, and then a 0-tick butted piston on the bottom, because the redstone block would be here in some of the designs. This is constantly on. This is a butted piston right now, and if I activate it, it will, it'll activate. And if I activate this redstone or change anything around it, the circuit activates and problems occur. So that's fine if that never happens, but the player might do that accidentally somehow. I'm not sure if it's the giving a 1-tick pulse or a 1-tick off pulse, but sometimes it occurs, and this is the solution. So the solution, turn the butted piston off. So what we have here is, instead of the entire time this piston being butted and accidentally perhaps being triggered, detecting a block update, we have it only turning on. The detection phase only activates 2 ticks after the door has actually been activated. So after we've opened the door, then we can start detecting for the closing sequence of the falling edge of the circuit. So we open it, then 2 ticks later we activate it, which is actually 3 ticks because there's another repeater over here. And then we close it by unpowering the piston. Unpowering the redstone dust, which unpowers the piston, instantly updating this sticky piston, 0-ticking it out, and then applying a 0-tick to this redstone line and closing the door instantly with 0 ticks of delay. The same tick that pressure plate sticks up and comes off the ground is the exact same tick that these blocks materialize. That is the fastest door one can ever make in Minecraft, on the rising edge and the falling edge, I dare say. So that's great, but that's atrocious. We got redstone dust in the path, as I said earlier, and this, obviously it's a complete mess. So this is what I did. I put it underground. Hooray! And it is actually extendable into as large as a 2x3, or I'm sure you can make it taller, but I didn't really care to. But a 2x3, that's as much as I'd ever use. So it works perfectly. You have the instant opening phase. The sprint is no longer lost. Hooray! We can run off the edge. And the blocks rematerialize instantly. We don't have that 3 ticks of animation for the pistons to extend again. We pulse them we give them a 0-tick pulse, and they extend instantly. Beautiful. And the entire device, it's not exactly small, and there are a ton of air gaps. This could be compressed a lot more, but there was budding going on and delays. It was annoying, and we had to worry with tick order, so I just arranged it like this. It is a compressed design from the previous 2 mockups, but I'm sure it could be more. This design here is 7 blocks by 8 blocks by 5, so it's a 7 by 8 footprint and 5 blocks tall, including the rest of that's on top there. And from that, of course, it is bigger than that, but these wires are only if you want to use the extra 3 pistons on the right and the top piston. This could be minimalized down to a 1x2 here, and that's how big the footprint is for the entire device. But yeah, you can extend it as much as you want. You can make this entire hallway if you like. The only really constraint is that you will have 15 blocks to run from this redstone block, or wherever you place the device. You have 15 blocks after that first redstone dust to reach your piston. This one up here is only at power 2, so I couldn't add another piston on top of this unless I rearranged the redstone somehow, made it run a more efficient route. But because of signal strength, because redstone wire is the only device capable, well, and piston, because redstone wire is the only medium of redstone signal being able to transfer signal faster than, well, in the same tick, applying an on pulse and an off pulse inside the same tick, they are the only thing that you can use to run the signal from that 0-tick generator up to the pistons. If you use a repeater, it'll extend the signal to 2 ticks or 4 ticks or 8 ticks or whatever you set it to. That is that's the entire problem that I've solved with this thing. Previously, with the redstone torch, the original piston door, and actually there's one over there too, that redstone torch extends the signal, and you can take that as far as you like. But this one here, nah, we want speed, so we have to worry about signal strength. So that is the only handicap with this system that I've found so far. I'm sure there are others, but yeah, that's what I've done with this design. But other than that, guys, that's all I have for you. I'm Bluestone, and I give you the piston door that is 5 ticks faster, 1/4 of a second faster than the piston door that everyone else uses. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.